Hello, fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today for this week's WIP and Chat. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. WIP, W-I-P, stands for Work in Progress, and this is mine. You are welcome and encouraged to go grab whatever it is you are working on and work alongside while I chat. Or alternatively, you can treat this as a podcast and just listen while I chat. Today I'm going to be working on my SpongeBob kit that I got for my nephew. It's been hanging around in my craft room for way too long, staring at me, so today I'm going to be finally starting it. I've had it kitted up for a while, just haven't gotten around to working on it, so that's what I'm going to be working on. Super excited. I have my pineapple washi tape that I got to use for this, and it is a square kit, so I'm going to be using my We Have a Handle on This tips. If you haven't seen these, I will stick a link up there so you can check out my video on them. I love these for squares. I'm going to be working up here at this top section, so I'm going to move things around a bit, zoom in so you can see what I'm working on, and I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm going to start with the 8s in this little section here. I have bought some DP with sparkler AB drills that I'm going to be using, and that's where I'm going to start. So let me start my timer. I'm just going to sprinkle these in here kind of at random. Then I'll get the actual colored yellow drills out. I thought about doing this whole section just with the sparklers, but all of the letters and SpongeBob himself are also this color, and I want to have enough to be able to sprinkle them throughout the whole painting. So sprinkling it is. Because even though I have quite a few of them, I don't think I have enough to just make this little star ABs. There's also ABs on that little star over there. So, yeah. All right, so let me start with my life update. Gosh, so many things going on this week. Still have gotten no response from Canada. So, because we were afraid of not meeting our deadline, we went ahead and just sent everything off, which was a trip in and of itself. So cross your fingers for me that everything goes okay and everything is good, because my goodness, it's never as simple as you think it's going to be, is it? We went to the FedEx office. First of all, it was nice in that we basically have waited long enough. We needed to send it next day, and it was way cheaper than I thought, so that part was good. But then we get to telling the guy, one of the instructions is basically we have to send a self-addressed stamped envelope with all of the paperwork so that they can mail whatever it is they're going to mail, the letter, the whatever, for our permanent residency visa back to us. But it has to be through FedEx, UPS, or Purelator. So I told the guy what we needed, and he said, well, there's no way to do that. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, there's no way that he could do it. That when he tried to put it in, because basically it would be coming from Canada back to us here in the States, and because we're in the States, their system didn't know what to do with that. And he said, I think you can do it if you sign up for a FedEx account, and then you can do it online. And the guy was super nice, kind of walked us through the whole thing, helped me set up the account, walked us through, here's where you need to go. There were several hiccups trying to get it through because the computer was very fussy about what you had to enter and what you didn't, and it didn't really tell you what was messed up and what wasn't. It would just tell you it wasn't going through. So it took us 5 or 6 tries to finally get it. We finally got it printed out, got the envelope and everything sent in, sent off, and I told the guy, just, thank you so much. This has been so stressful. We're almost at the end, we think. And he's like, yeah, it's just so frustrating, because he said, it's not just Canada, it's other countries, and they have all these weird rules, and some of the stuff they want, there's just no way to accomplish it. And when we started, he wasn't sure that we'd be able to figure out how to do it. We did, thanks to him, so left him a glowing 5-star review. So now we just wait and see. Like I said, we still haven't heard anything. Our current plan is to wait until, I don't know, until I get tired of waiting, I guess, and eventually just send in my passport for renewal. You cannot get an emergency renewal unless you are traveling, so I don't qualify for that. I've seen several things lately on the news that they're just slammed right now trying to renew passports. Not really sure why. I don't know if it's because a lot of people travel in the summer or whatever, but yeah, I'm going to wait for a little bit. What I'm hoping is that we'll get something back fairly quickly, and then we will just travel up there, get our permanent residency visas, do our what they call their landing, I think is what it's called, and then get what documentation we need, and then we have time. I think we have like a year or something to, you know, sell our house and get all of our goods squared away and whatever we need to do and find a place to live up there and all that good stuff. Then once that's all done, then I can send off for my renewal. I may get tired of waiting before then. I don't know. This whole thing has just been kind of crazy. So we'll see what happens. Everyone cross your fingers for me that it all goes pretty smoothly and we get through it with no issues. I just, it's been such a process. And I mean, our process has been faster than a lot of people's. Last time we were up there for a visit, talking to my in-laws, and she knows somebody. Now, granted, this guy was coming from Cuba, which is a whole host of different issues, but it took him 4 years to complete the process. So, you know, relatively speaking, it's gone pretty quickly for us, although not as quickly for us as some other people. My husband's Facebook group that he's in, there were a couple of people that it's only taken them just a couple of months. Like there was a lady in there that said they started in February of 2022, and by September they were done with the process. Now, everybody's different. Who knows, you know, what their situation was. I don't think they had any kids. It was just her and her husband. And so I don't know if that speeded the process along, because, you know, we had to do a bunch of stuff with my daughter, even though she's not going with us. So yeah, it's just been a bunch of hoops to jump through, and we're really hoping that we're almost done with them, because that would be nice. And so we did all that. We picked up our groceries yesterday. My husband and I typically do our grocery ordering online just because it saves us time. My husband works 10-hour days through the week. We don't get a whole lot of time together, and so on the weekends, you know, we'd rather not spend the time that he has doing chores and errands and that kind of stuff. I mean, sometimes it can't be helped, but we try to do it not then. And so just to save time, we pick up our groceries. You know, I said to my husband, we got home after picking him up, and I said, this doesn't look like enough groceries for as big as our bill was. You know, didn't think anything else of it and was putting stuff away. My husband helps me put groceries away. So, you know, he's going downstairs and putting stuff in our freezer while I'm putting stuff in the refrigerator upstairs. And, you know, we're sorting through, does this need to go into the pantry? Does this need to go into the fridge? Does this need to go downstairs? We got done. He'd been downstairs putting stuff in the freezer, and he came back up, and I said, is that it? And he said, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, wait a minute, because I knew that I had ordered some bagged salad and we didn't have any. And I knew that I had put one bag on, and I knew my husband had put a bag on. And, you know, it's not the first time that things have come up missing or that we get items we didn't ask for. We've gotten fish we didn't ask for. One time we got 5 dozen eggs we didn't ask for. And, you know, we've tried to return them, and they're like, no, it's our mistake. You keep them. So we got 5 dozen eggs. This was way before eggs were, you know, as expensive as they are now. But anyway, we get to looking at our receipt, and I'm like, there's like a whole bunch of refrigerated stuff that we didn't get. And I'm like, somebody missed a bag or something of our order when they pulled it out of wherever they keep all the refrigerated stuff. And I said, so we just need to call and tell them. If it's been, we've had it happen before where it's just been one item, and they have it in their little app where you can just go in and say, you know, I want a refund for this item, I didn't receive it, and they'll just do it. Like, they don't even ask you any questions, they just give you a refund, which I'm sure gets abused. But anyway, there was too many items, and we wanted them. And so I said, no, we need to call them and find out what's going on. And so he called, and the lady said, oh yeah, it sounds like we missed a bag. Let me go check. She came back. Yeah, we actually missed 2 bags. And because it was their mistake, they delivered it to our house, which was really nice because they don't normally deliver to where we live, or we'd be doing that. And so I figured, we'd have to make another trip to go pick it up or whatever. Nope, they drove it to our house, and we got all the rest of the stuff that we ordered. My son likes these little Jimmy Dean egg cups, and we'd ordered some hamburger, some raw hamburger, and we'd ordered some vegetables and vegetable dip and the salads and some cream cheese for the bagels that my son likes. And so yeah, there were quite a few things that we were missing. So I just thought it was funny because, like I said, we've had things go missing before, but never entire bags like that. So it got solved. It's all good. We have all the groceries we paid for now. So I think I told you that we got new fiber internet installed, and I am loving it. My son tells me that he can't tell a difference. He plays online games, and so I thought, I said, well, I thought you would, have less lag, or, things would be faster. And he said, no, it's not really that much of a difference. I can definitely tell the difference. When I go to upload my videos, it is so much faster. Typically, especially like a whip and chat, one of my longer videos, would take me a couple hours to upload because we just had such slow speeds. I would need to make sure that I had stuff done enough ahead of time that I'm not waiting, a couple hours for things to upload because I've got other things I need to do or whatever. And now, half the time, it's finished uploading before I'm even done typing in all of my description or adding all the stuff that I need to add. So he may not be able to tell the difference, but I certainly can, and I love it. I told my husband, wherever we move in Canada, it's got to have fiber internet because now I'm used to it and I'm not going to want to do without it. Which, if we live in town instead of out where his folks are, which I think he said his folks are starting to get fiber out where they are too, but I don't know if it's quite as far as they are. But they definitely have it in the city where we would be, so we'll see. And now we've got to figure out all the other stuff. We called a realtor and asked them to come look at our house to see what kind of things we need to do to get it spruced up to put it on the market. We haven't heard anything back yet. I've started going through some of our various items. I started going through our closet. I'd been talking to my sister the last time that we got together, and just some things that I know, I don't want to get rid of, but I really don't want to take all the way to Canada. Like my dad's military uniform. It's hanging in my closet. I don't really want to take a chance on something happening to it by taking it all the way to Canada. So she's going to take that. I've got my 2 kids' cap and gowns from when they graduated high school, which I'm sure neither one of them want. I was actually going through one of my dressers, and I had a drawer that had all their baby teeth in it. And both of my children completely squeaked out by the fact that I kept their baby teeth. And he's like, why did you do that? And I said, well, I don't know, in case you guys want. And he's like, Mom, why would I want my old teeth? And I was like, I don't know. I think it's just a mom thing where, they're babies and their teeth fall out and you're like, aw. And he looks at me because I'm showing them to my son, and do you want these? And he looked at all of them, but then after he looked at them, he's like, no. I said, you don't want them? And he's like, Mom, did your mom save yours? And I said, yeah. And he goes, did you want yours? And I said, no. And he said, well, what'd you do with them? And I said, I threw them away. And he goes, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay. So we threw all of his baby teeth away. I haven't talked to my daughter about hers yet, but I'm going to imagine she's probably going to tell me the same thing. So there's that. But I did go through some pictures. I went through a couple dresser drawers and got rid of some stuff. I found some old electronics my husband's going to try and sell. We found, 4 or 5 Nintendo DSs that, my kids, 2 of them were mine. 2 of them were my kids. I think there's a third one, but I think my son reclaimed it and he's actually been playing with it. A little bit of nostalgia before he decides to let it go, I think. And a whole bunch of games to go along with it. So my husband's going to try and sell those. And of course, they're baby teeth. And I went through our closet, part of our closet. I have a whole bunch of photo albums that belonged to my grandmother. And, you know, had kept them because they had pictures of my dad and my dad's family, his two sisters and things like that when they were growing up, my grandparents. But then there's several albums that have people that I have no idea who they are. I don't think they're part of my grandmother's family. They're not part of my grandfather's family. They don't have the same last name. So I have no idea who they are. My sister had said she'd take any albums that I didn't want to take. And again, you know, I'd love to keep them. I started a project a long time ago about scanning in so that all of our old photos were electronic. And I did that for my immediate family, for me, my kids, my parents, my siblings, their kids. But I didn't get as far as branching out into grandparents. And they're in those old, you know, like peel and stick albums where you peeled the page back and then you stuck them to the sticky part. So it's like old Polaroids or really old black and white photos. And I don't know who any of these people are anyway. And I don't want to spend the time scanning and digitizing all these people when I don't have a clue who they are. I'm not going to keep the photo albums. So I separated out the ones that haven't been scanned that have pictures of family in them to see if my sister wants those. She was talking about getting a scanner, a really good quality scanner, so that she could scan in photos and get everything kind of digitized. And I said, well, you know, I did that with a bunch of stuff after my parents and my grandma passed away, and these have been kind of on the back burner, and I just don't have the time or the inclination, quite frankly, to do them now. So if she will do them, that's great. Yesterday, I had my husband get down. My mom collected crystal, Swarovski crystal. My sister got her started on it. She took a trip to Europe when she graduated from high school, and they went to a toured a Swarovski factory, and she brought my mom back home a piece of the crystal, and mom fell in love with it, and so she started collecting it, and she had this big huge collection that we divvied up a lot of it when my parents passed, but I have a lot of it that I don't want to keep. I don't want I'm so afraid it's not going to make the trip, that it will get broken. I have picked out 5 or 6 pieces that I'm going to keep, and then the rest are going to go to my daughter and my sister. I had my husband go get the boxes out of the garage and discovered while we were out there, I had forgotten when my grandmother passed away, my grandma, my mom's mom, we found some what we think are real silver items. There's like a cake plate, and there's a whole tea service set, and I think they're real silver, and they're so old they need cleaned really badly. So I want to get someone to do that, and then we'll see if they're actually worth something. I don't think we'll sell them, but I'd like to know, you know, what they are and how much they're worth before we decide if we're going to take them with us or not. Because whatever we have to take with us, we've got to do some more research, but there's a whole bunch of rules that we have to follow about household things that we would want to import, because when you're moving there, we get basically a pass on customs and import taxes. So no duties, no taxes, but we have to make like a really itemized list of everything that we're taking. Oh, and also I found that I guess you can take mattresses into Canada. That I guess once upon a time when they were having a real problem with bed bugs, you could still bring them in, but you like had to show that they've been fumigated or something. My husband's Facebook group is like, yeah, that's not true any longer. It used to be, and we've got to do some researching on stuff like that. We need to figure out, are we taking our cars? If so, which ones? And then you have to like write an itemized list of what everything is worth and all that kind of stuff. And there are rules about, I think each item has to be of less than $10 value for it to get the free, no duties, whatever. And I think there was also some rule about you had to have owned the items for longer than 6 months, although I think I remember reading something that said if you've been out of Canada for more than 5 years, that rule doesn't apply to you. So that wouldn't apply to us because my husband's been here in the States for over 10. But yeah, just lots of things for us to figure out, you know, bank accounts and credit cards and bills and where are we going to live when we get up there. And yeah, just lots of things to do. I told my husband it's really tempting just to be like, you know what, we're going to get rid of everything and then just start completely over when we get up there. And then we don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff. But that's so many things. I mean, if we don't take our vehicles, then we'd have to buy new vehicles when we get up there. That's a huge expense. And even if you're just talking household items, I mean, you know, just the things that you use in your house on a regular basis, that's a lot of stuff, and it really adds up to have to replace an entire household. We're planning on getting rid of some stuff. We're not going to get rid of everything. And then you have to, you know, figure out how you're going to transport it. If we can do like a U-Haul, which I guess we could do a U-Haul depending on how much we have cross-border. Somebody in my husband's group posted that it was actually cheaper for them to go from Minnesota to Nova Scotia than it was for them to go to Minnesota to Bangor. So that seemed odd, but who knows? Or we could hire a moving company, but I guess then once you hire the moving company, you have to meet the van or the truck at like a storage warehouse, and then the customs people will go through everything. And I mean, there have been people who said, you know, it took them hours upon hours because they looked at everything, and then other people who are like, we sailed through in 15 minutes. So I'm assuming it probably has something to do with where you are. Certain border crossings have a lot more traffic than others, and that seems to be, you know, the more traffic it has, the longer it can take because they're busy, and so it makes them a good avenue for illegal transport and things like that. But then there's also conversely, you know, people who are like, well, I went to this busy port, but it was actually faster because we went to a separate place, and they only have so long to do it because they want to get the border people back to wherever. And so I think it's just going to be a crapshoot when it gets to that, but we'll see. Lots of things for us to decide over the next several months while we figure out what we're doing and how we're going to go. We'd like to be gone by September, but I suddenly thought, you know, if we sell our house, whoever buys it will probably want to move in before school starts. That's what I would want to do. And in that case, we're going to have to find some place to stay for a couple of months if we can't, you know, work it out so that we can stay here until we're ready to go. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we can just start moving stuff up. I'd say we could just start moving stuff up piecemeal, but you only get your duty import pass one time. So you got to move everything at once, or you have to pay duty as you bring everything through. So yeah, just lots of details for us to figure out. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was, you guys, we've had such crazy weather here lately. I hope everybody watching or listening has been safe and okay. Lots of crazy weather everywhere, but here, my husband was telling me one of the cities near us was actually on the national weather news because it was snowing on Friday. Just snow flurries. It didn't accumulate or anything, but it was actually snowing on Friday. And then Saturday night, we had all kinds of crazy thunderstorms and hail. My husband was like, ooh, I hope they don't call me to go work. I don't want to go work in this weather. So he didn't get called in, but we'll see. So he didn't get called into work, but he was checking Saturday morning, and there were several thousand people out of power around in the areas around us. So we didn't get any really bad weather. We didn't even lose like any tree branches or anything. It did sound like it was raining hard enough that it might have been hail, but it was late last night and I couldn't be bothered to get up and check. We didn't lose any big tree branches, so I'm going to guess that it was just rain and not hail, which is good. We did go out, because it was still raining a bit on Saturday, we did go out and put some lawn feeder and weed killer on our lawn. We have really bad problems with dandelions and clover in our yard. We live at the end of a street, and the people to the south of us do not take care of their yard at all, and so a lot of it blows. Dandelions and things get blown into our yard no matter what we do. And they are now going to be extending the road past our house. It used to end in a T intersection near our house. Now they're going to expand it south, so they've torn out a whole bunch of trees, and it just looks really weird. But I guess less trees to fall down on anybody else's house, so I guess that'll be good. That's all that's been going on in my neck of the woods. That's my life update. Let me start talking about my diamond painting life. So first of all, you guys, this is WIP and Chat number 99. I can't believe it, because you know, when I first started out doing WIP and Chats, when I first started the channel, I didn't do WIP and Chats because I didn't think I had enough to say that I would fill up more than 10-15 minutes. Turns out I do. So I started doing the WIP and Chats, and you guys seem to like these longer form videos, and so I've been working on those. I never thought I'd make it to 52, which was a year, and now here I am at 100. So that means I'm only 4 weeks away of 2 years of WIP and Chats, which is kind of crazy when I think about it. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with the channel once we move. I thought that I could just transfer the channel to Canada. It does not appear that Google lets you do that, according to the information that I could find. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'll have to start a new one. I don't know if I can like turn off the monetization long enough for me to then move and then turn it back on up in Canada. I don't know how any of that works. And of course, Google doesn't want to tell you any of that. So that will be interesting to see how that goes. Just all kinds of fun stuff. And you know, once I get up there, if we decide to open up some kind of business or something, then things like that may be different too. I did see an update on the whole AI situation. You guys know I've talked about AI before, AI art, like Midjourney and other places that you can use AI to create pieces of art. I have tried ChatGPT. I did a video on that and using it to try and help me with videos and things. The U.S. Copyright Office did issue some guidance for people on AI art and have said that things that are created with AI art do not qualify for copyright if they are solely generated by the AI. So for instance, if you're using Midjourney and you use a prompt and it creates a piece of art, you cannot copy that art because just you writing a prompt is not sufficient for it to have enough human input to qualify as anything other than AI art, which is not copyrightable. But then it devolves into, well, what constitutes enough change? And I mean, this same argument has been going on for a long time with any kind of art. So it just gets really messy really quickly. And it'll be interesting to see what happens and how it affects the diamond painting world, because I have already seen diamond painting companies who are using AI art. I know for a fact, because they're advertising it, that Crafties is using AI art to create what they're calling Crafties Originals, I think, or AI Originals, something like that, and then selling them as diamond paintings, which is fine, but then you can't copyright it if it's AI art, can you? And have they? And how are you going to know? And I'm just really curious to see how the end consumer, you know, diamond painters like you and me, are going to be able to tell the difference. And I suspect that at least for the short term, what it's going to come down to is that people are going to stick to, diamond painting companies that have been licensing art in the past, and stick to those companies because they will know that who the art is by and that it's not AI. But I think it'll be very tricky. I just think it'll get really, really messy. And the only way, of course, for them to figure that out is that they're going to have to be court cases, which are going to take forever to be decided. I just think it'll be interesting. I don't think AI is going to go away. Like I said before, I think it's useful in other applications, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because, that's one of the things that it will let companies do is cut down on costs, because if they're not having to pay an artist to license art and they can just create their own, then that saves them a lot of overhead, which means, then you're going to have all these price competitions, and yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, so speaking of diamond paintings, you guys, I feel like I'm on a roll. I'm finishing things. I finished my Patience Mermaid. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll throw a link up there in the top so you can check her out. It turned out really, really well. I had some issues with it, but I love how it turned out. I think she turned out really well, and I'm really glad that I decided to go ahead and finish it, even though I had considered putting that one off. Once I finished with her, I pulled out my Marvin and Daffy canvases, and I'm happy to report that I have finished both of those. You will be seeing my finished video of those hopefully here this next week, so keep an eye out for that. I like how both of them turned out, and they were small, so they were quick and easy to do, and it let me knock out another piece of my Diamond Art Club challenge. So I actually saw yesterday somebody had a post on Instagram where they'd made like a little bingo card like thing of it for the Diamond Art Club challenge. So there were 5 items, as far as I'm aware. You had to do a small kit, less than 65 centimeters on one side, I think was the limit. So I've definitely done that. That was my Pixie Sticks Mermaid. You had to complete a kit with no 310, which I also have done. That was my Enchanted Forest one. You had to complete your oldest Diamond Art Club, which I have finished. That was my Jules and Verne kit, and that is done. And then you had to do a 2023 release. So now I can mark that off my little bingo card, because I completed both the Daffy and the Marvin, which were 2023 releases, which means the only one that I have left on my little card is to do one that has a flower in it. And I don't think, I'm trying to think, neither Marvin nor Daffy had flowers. This one does not have any flowers. So I will have to pull out something else that has flowers in it. I might do my Flower Crazy one, but after I get done with some other projects, I'm going to be starting up a kit for an event, and I don't think that one has any flowers in it either, but we'll see. I'm having so much fun getting things done and actually making some progress. I've been avoiding squares, which is why I think I hadn't done anything with this particular kit, just because squares take me longer, and I was trying to be really productive, but I've ignored a bunch of square kits, and now they're getting all piled up, and I don't want to get to a point where that's all I have left. So I decided to go ahead and work on this one. And then I have a rabbit kit that I am completing for my sister. She has a bunch of cute little animals wearing glasses hanging up in her office, and she wanted another one. So I did one for her. It was an elephant wearing glasses. She has one of a giraffe wearing glasses, and I found one of this cute little bunny. So I'm going to be working on that one. It is a square. It is 40 by 40, but I'm going to be cutting it down to be a 30 by 30 because that's the size of all of her other kits, which just means less of a white background for me to do, so that's all good for me. And then I might even get ambitious and work on my Heaven and Earth design. I have had a Heaven and Earth design kit that is a square that has kind of been languishing on my diamond painting table, kind of under everything else while I work on other kits, because I think it's just really hard to see. I have to use a light pad on the darker parts of the canvas because I can't tell the symbols apart. So that's frustrating because my eyes get fatigued really easily when I use a light pad. And I've just been so busy working on other projects. You know, I was working on that Heaven and Earth design at the end of last year, and I just got sidetracked by so many other things that I ended up not finishing it. And I really would like to get it done. I mean, one, so I can get it done, but also so I can get it off of my table and I have room to work on other things, like my other Heaven and Earth design canvases. So that's the plan. We'll see. Oh, I also finished another project, and I probably won't be doing a video on it, but I will likely share some pictures on Instagram and in my Facebook group. So make sure you look both of those places. Basically, I had a blank canvas that I bought, gosh, sometime last year. Oh, was it last year? It might have even been 2021 now that I think about it. That I bought at Michael's. That was a blank diamond dots canvas. And I wanted to use up some of my spare drills. My round spare drills were getting really stuffed full with all of the spare drills that I had saved. And so I went through and I pulled out, you know, all those colors that you have a ton of, like black and white and browns and some blues, and just a lot of kits that I had, like almost a whole full bag this size of drills, and dumped them into containers. And I found a cool pattern. It's just an abstract picture, and I didn't like buy the pattern or anything. It was just an abstract with like a bunch of different geometric shapes. And so I just printed it out, and then I followed it at first for a while, and then I didn't have as many different colors as the original had. And so then I just kind of started subbing in my own colors and shapes and kind of doing my own thing. And I like how it turned out. It was, I think it said it was like a 30 by 48 was the size of the canvas. That's not the size of the drill field. That was the size of the canvas, but small enough once I cut it down that it could go in my smallest portfolio. And so I took some pictures of it, and I'll share those, but it was fun. I didn't use up nearly as many spare drills as I was hoping I would, but it was a fun project. And, you know, if I want to do something like that again, I can just go out to Michael's or someplace, or just get online and I can buy another blank canvas so that I can work on that and use up those drills. I'm really loving these square drills. These are much nicer than the last square drill kit that I worked on. So still have some trash, but not nearly as much as I had last time. All right, is there anything else I need to tell you guys? I've finished the Marvin, the Daffy, the Patience. I finished the abstract one. I'm working on the SpongeBob. I think that's all I wanted to tell you guys. I made some nice progress on this. I think I'm going to keep working on this. This has actually been really nice and relaxing, even though it's a square kit, for me to get a nice chunk of this done. I think I am probably going to go back and put my release papers on here, just because when I do it like this with the cover sheet, it just turns into this never ending. And, you know, before I know it, I've been sitting in a chair for 8 hours diamond painting, and I've not gotten up and moved, and I don't like doing that to myself. So yeah, I need to put my release papers on here so I can be like, okay, I finished that section. Time to go do something else for a few minutes and come back. All right, let me zoom out here so you guys can see what I've finished. So you can see I made some nice progress. I've got this whole star filled out. I need to go over it with a roller because some of these drills are popping up, or I didn't place them. There we go. That's one of my favorite things. Do you guys do that? Just run your fingers over. One, you can tell with your fingers where drills are kind of popping up that you might not notice with your eyes, but it just feels so cool to run your fingers over. Anyway, that's it for me today, guys. I got something accomplished. I hope you did too. Thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.